been working in nutrition now for 12 years, and my present job is the manager of nutrition and wellbeing for a company called Artizian. After qualifying 12 years ago, I actually ran my own nutritional therapy practice when I dealt in a clinical environment of working on one-to-one with patients. After that, I decided I wanted to increase my academic knowledge even further, and I went back to school, and then I also became an academic tutor. And 4 years ago, I joined Artizian, so moving from an academic world into the corporate world. I'd had a history of a career before that. A long time ago, I'd worked in advertising and always worked in food marketing, so developed lots of new product development, advertising, etc. So you're watching someone today that really has had a passion about food for all my life. And I hope today to enthuse you and inspire you all because I see you being part of what I'm going to talk about now. It's fundamental to our well-being. Since I joined Artizian 4 years ago, I have actually been responsible for developing and implementing nutrition and well-being programs for clients. And I've also created a Good For You food brand, which I'll tell you a little bit about later on. Artizian, our heartland really, and we've been a company for over 20 years, has been a bespoke contract caterer. We are nutritionally led and chef inspired, and we work in the business industry catering section. But we also specialise in working with clients to develop nutritional wellbeing programs as part of their own wellbeing strategy. In the last 4 years, I have definitely seen, all of us seen a cultural change in the way in which our customers relate to food and make food choices. And I'm sure you've been part of that cultural change too. You've seen it probably within yourselves. And I really do believe that we are experiencing a sort of paradigm shift whereby people are beginning to recognise that the power of good and even optimum nutrition can play a very important role in their mental, their physical, and their emotional resilience. Our body systems are inherently linked, and our physiological and our psychological health is very interconnected. And one of the main sources of fuel to support that is good nutrition. It's, in my mind, one of the most important interventions that you can use within a wellbeing strategy. I am passionate about this area. I want to enthuse you to believe that you too can be part of this revolution. I'm really excited about the future. What I hope to do today is to share with you that what we do can provide opportunities for your employees and your corporations and companies to eat better too. We call this in Artizian intelligent eating, and I'm going to explain a bit more about that. It really is about starting with good education, empowering people to know, informing them, but most importantly, inspiring them, making an emotional connection to inspire someone to make a difference, to change the way that they are doing things, so that they can make, or employers can make, sensible decisions about the food they eat and recognise that there's a connection between their own well-being, their productivity, and what they eat. We know, because we've worked in the business of food for a very long time, that fast food can be fresh, nutrient-dense, it can be appetising, it has to taste good. This isn't about horrible foods that no one wants to eat. And we believe that good nutrition is possibly the single most important factor in a happy and motivated workforce. Nutrition science is a relatively new science. I've worked in the academic field, as I've explained to you, for a number of years, and I'm continually blown away by the sorts of news that comes out on a regular basis at a high level from the universities of research. One of my current passions is understanding about the gut microbiome. I'm not here to talk about that now, but if you Google that, you're entering a whole new world of well-being. But what we actually need right now, I believe, is a better clarity around the messages of food. It's very easy for you to go on and look at bloggers and Instagrammers, and you're just overwhelmed by the what and the when and the how, and actually, quite frankly, some dangerous stuff out there as well, very extreme views about how to eat, when to eat, and what to eat. what we like to produce here is kind of real nutrition. It's real for real people. We all live in a time-limited way. It's about finding ways to improve ourselves, but easily. Right now, I think it's fair to say there is significant confusion around what sort of food we should eat. It's fueled by the media, but I would also say it's fueled by some food manufacturers as well, who sort of piggyback on the bandwagon of the next diet fad. And the industry just keeps responding. So an example of this is that sort of maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was all about low fat. We all took fat out of or manufacturers took fat out of food. What do? They put sugar in instead. And now we're all realizing that sugar was the devil, and now we all need to take that out. Yeah, you've got the message, up and down, up and down. And that's probably informed by bad science as much as good science. The current obsession with protein. You go on the high street, Protein House, great little retail, selling protein, but also protein bars, protein shakes. Yeah, that's not real food, really. It's manufactured, made up food. It's not real protein, the example, but we all think we need to get lots of it. And part of the problem about getting around people to eat healthily is that confusion. And what we try and do with our strategies is to make this as simple as it possibly can be. Because actually what is resulting in it is this sort of skewed and bent opinions about exactly what we should all be eating. I'm no expert, but I would like to say I have a bit more knowledge than some. So what really does constitute a best diet? Yeah? Well, it's reached a crisis point, in my opinion, and actually so much so that our sort of license to eat has actually become a kind of license to kill ourselves. Really, putting it in a blunt way. We deserve this, we should eat that, it's available, etc., etc. Really, the sad fact of the matter is in the Western world that many of us are malnourished. Okay? Actually, not directly from eating too little, but from actually eating too much of too fewer things. Okay? So the nutrient intake of our food is very, very limited. There's a term, it's called overconsumptive malnutrition, and it occurs probably across the majority of us. We might be the walking well, but there's probably something going on inside all of us that isn't 100% well. You know as well as I do that the increase in chronic diseases over the last 50 years have been linked to diet. Yeah? They're a major contributing factor. That is a fact. And the diseases that are killing us on a day-to-day basis and in great number, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, yeah, and obesity, are actually diseases of malnutrition. According to Cancer Research UK, the latest figures that were published, 42% of cancer cases are preventable through diet and lifestyle changes. And the current statistics show that 9% of diagnosis can be linked directly to diet. Now, that figure is alarming, especially when you also know that the incidence of cancer has risen by nearly 30% since the 1970s. So, how do you start to make a difference? What can you do to help encourage people to eat a little better? Well, the one thing we all do, and there's no denying, is that we all eat. What you bite, what you chew, what you drink, what you swallow. You as an individual and everyone, you are the only one that's responsible for putting that in your mouth. You have control over that. And your food choices, everyone's food choices, can have a dramatic and long-term effect on their well-being, and most importantly, on the most powerful organ of the body, and that's the brain. So, rushing man and woman. We actually live in a time now where the rushing man and woman needs to find effective ways to support their well-being. They're what I call body battery. So if you imagine you all have a battery inside you, and we're lucky because we can recharge these up really easily. We just plug them in. But you need to work quite hard to recharge your own battery up. And one of the biggest things that you can do is feed it as well as you possibly can with the nutrients that nourish you. It's now widely accepted that what you eat obviously has a key effect on how you perform. I think you're all nodding, knowing that there is absolutely no doubt that what you eat affects your performance. But so often in our busy lives, we're presented with having to make choices and fast choices, quick choices. Often they're out of ignorance, they're out of lack of time, or just, can't be bothered. And invariably, we compromise on food choices. We know that's how it works. I was speaking to someone today, you've only got 5 minutes. You run into Marks and Spencer's, you grab what you can, or Sainsbury's, and out you go again. You don't give it too much thought. So actually, in making those poor food choices, we compromise our ability to think, to focus, to sleep, to manage our weight, to be attentive, and in fact, to have good mental health. All of us, probably, and even now sitting in the room, have commonly experienced a change in mental function during the working day. Yeah, you might dip in the afternoon, you could go and kill a muffin and a chocolate bar and no one's going to get in your way. Yep, sugar cravings, dips, tiredness. Is this meeting ever going to end? It's common, okay? But actually what you probably don't know is that is a sign of a nutrient deficiency. That's your body telling you are not eating the right foods and your blood sugars have now gone so low, the only thing you're going to do is, on the rampage, grab and go and grab some sugar to feed you up again. It's usually what happens. And my call is that wouldn't we be better educated, wouldn't it be better, more beneficial to be better educated, better informed and inspired to positively fuel ourselves? And that we can also prevent our mind and our mood and our energy levels going all over the place, to be more stable, to be more mindful of what we're doing. I actually think that if we do embrace this, we're more likely to become ill, less likely to become ill. But I mentioned earlier, we're less likely to be diseased. We don't have to be sick to feel unwell or to underperform. And I'm sure in terms of employee sickness, being off work is one thing, but you could be present but not on point. And that probably happens more hours of the day than you'd probably like to calculate. You probably know that the human brain is about 2% of your body weight. If you were to take that away, it would be about 2% of your overall body weight. But actually, it uses 20% of the body's energy that you produce. Okay, it's a real machine that needs to be fed properly and fueled properly. And the main source of energy for the brain is glucose. Okay, glucose is a sugar, and it comes from carbohydrates. But what you probably don't know is that the effects of stress, and we work in a busy, stressful environment most of the time, actually compels your own body to crave fuel in the form of sugars. But what you often do is run out and go and grab sugary snacks and sweet treats for things to fuel your brain, which actually are the worst things that you can do for your brain. It ends up you being tired, exhausted, low mood, low productivity. Interestingly, and this is something that really, when I first started to train about nutrition, it really clicked for me, is that we have undergone the most phenomenal technical change in our workforce ever, since ever. We are expected to be wired 24/7. But biochemically, you and all human beings are exactly the same organism as they were millions of years ago, when caveman was sitting there waiting for the tiger to arrive. Yeah? In that instance, his response to stress would be massive and then drop. He'd have time to sit there and wait for weeks, possibly, till the next tiger came around and he needed to defend himself. But we expect our fight and flight responses, our stress responses, to be operating almost every single moment of the day. Yeah? And that is going to deplete your body battery significantly. And what we tend to do, commonly, is that we energize ourselves with caffeine. We chill down with alcohol, usually. Some people do. And we tend to fuel ourselves with sugary foods just to keep us going. And in my opinion, that's an absolute no-brainer. No one is going to function well in a 21st century charged environment with biochemically the same connections as we did millions of years ago in a wired and 24/7. Yeah. Because we live in such a fast and frantic pace, we actually compromise our food choices. And the net result is that we actually don't get enough nutrients for our basic body chemistry to work. So let alone for us to be supercharged and running around 24/7 in today's world. This is an interesting thing. We find when we're feeding people, most people would actually consume 2/3 of their food in 5 days at work. Yeah, so they're likely to grab breakfast. It's becoming more and more common not to eat breakfast at home, to eat breakfast and grab a lunch. But they only take, on average, about 17 minutes to have a lunch break. It's a very small window of opportunity to get the right food in at the right time. So for me, it's not surprising that we are facing a health and well-being crisis, and particularly I know a lot is being spoken about today about mental well-being and mental health. So we've set up the picture. Wouldn't it be great if we could all start to learn to feed ourselves a little better, that we could encourage a workforce to make some small changes and steps along the way, to realise that the food that they eat actually does drive them and increases their productivity, that we felt ill less often, we could better concentrate, we were agile, we had nice skin, we had nice hair, we had good muscles, we were less likely to develop chronic diseases of obesity, cardiovascular disease, all of that. And even anxiety, depression, and low mood, that all of them are related to food. So, when deciding on what will constitute your corporate wellbeing strategy, I'd like to encourage you today to not look for a magic bullet. The truth is that won't exist. But we believe that there is a very cost-effective way of starting to tackle wellbeing, and that's actually through improving employees' awareness about food choices and the effect of food on their own productivity and well-being. And I'm going to go on and talk to you about the ways in which you could do that with collateral I'm going to produce to you, show you today. So we call this intelligent eating. Essentially, what we're asking for is that there's a move away from mindless eating. It happens all the time. I was telling my kids the other day that actually when I was young and at school, you didn't eat on the street. That shows you how old I am. It really wasn't acceptable for you to be running around eating food, let alone in your school uniform. I mean, it just wasn't done. And yet now you barely can walk out of the door without seeing someone with a coffee and a phone and a bun. We want to help you to move your employees from this mindless eating to a more conscious way of eating, intelligent eating, through nutrition know-how and nutrition power. And we believe that it can lead to an awareness in everyone that if you flick a switch and make the decision to eat better, you will learn very quickly the power of good food and good nutrition to your own performance, your happiness, and your well-being. Now, there's every indication that the younger I generation already here. They're already, we see it in our businesses. So we work for London-based media companies with a much younger workforce, and they are already demanding, they're already asking and seeking and finding information about nutrition and food, and they challenge us all the time to produce food and messages around that. In contrast, you get the baby boomers, who perhaps 10 years ago were a little bit, don't want to listen to any of this, but now they recognise that they probably should eat better, because ultimately they want to live longer, happier lives. And what connects them all in that is the food that we all eat. So we see this as very central to what you can do. I believe that we do have the chance to rethink our time schedules. It isn't as complicated as people think. It's just about the planning and the process of that, really. But over the years, we've come to realise that as caterers, some time ago, we asked for choice. Do you remember all of you can eat buffets? Wandering around trying to fill everything up and everything. It seems a bit of a strange thing now, doesn't it? You know, pile it all on. Of course we all do that. But actually, we recognise that less is more, that the fewer choices you have to make around food. Your grandparents were unlikely to have to make any food choices, really. The food choices that you're faced with on a daily basis, because there just wasn't there. They had food to eat. I like playing a game with some people that I meet, my clients, and say to them, If you went to a supermarket, the only game you really need to play is dead or alive. Okay? And every product you pick up, you decide to yourself, is this dead or alive? If it's dead, i.e. processed, never walked, never had a baby, never done things it really should have done, or grown, you bin it. If it's alive, you put it in your trolley. But you are allowed 20% of the time to put something dead in. If you eat like that, if you eat live food, real food, 80% of the time, you will feel alive. It's the connection. But what we tend to do is fuel ourselves with dead food a lot of the time. And we make choices without really thinking about it. Now, an example of the way in which we help our clients and our customers to make small changes and different things is that we actually try and simplify things for themselves. And we found that actually if you remove unhealthy food from any environment, it gets easier. The willpower gets weaker. You know, the power gets stronger to make the right decision. So as an experiment to prove this, we, as one of our new caterers actually, one of our new contracts, we decided quite radically that we're going to take the sweets and the cakes and all the yummy sweet treats away from the till. Okay, so imagine coffee. Ooh, I'll have one of those. No, we're going to actually help make it easier. And we moved them away from the till. Do you know what the smallest seller there is now? Crisps. It had been one of the highest sellers because it's a big impulse purchase. Oh, I'll have a packet of crisps with that. Yeah? The biggest? Poached eggs. Okay? In the first 100 days of service, we sold 7,034 poached eggs. Cause and effect? Who really knows? But we're definitely sure we're not going to put the crisps and the sweets near the till again. Okay? It's just one example, but what we try and do is help change the environment in which people are making food decisions. And we do it little by little. And one of our phrases is, small changes makes a big impact. You can believe that if you make small changes, you will make a big impact. It's when you try and take it all on all in one go, it's not possible. So, top of the world's best company list to work for is Google, and they are famous for their commitment to healthy foods. And it's very much an integral part of the company. Has anyone followed what Google are doing with this? Yeah. So it's been the company philosophy from day one. And Google are sort of setting the trend. They're way ahead in America. They've recognized that there is definitely a connection between workforce well-being and nutrition. And they have developed probably one of the most famous food programs to do with this. It's significant. They actually claim it helps attract, retain, and employ, the very best talent. And they believe that it's important for company leaders like yourselves to really ensure that employees recognise the connection between the food that they eat and their performance. So they encourage people not to forget to eat during the day. They provide healthy eating snacks, breakout zones, energy zones, etc. So they flag everything for them to make it easier for someone to sort of eat well or better for you foods versus not so good for you foods. But one of the critical things that I think is effective in their programme is that they actually employ lecturers, nutritionists. They invest in news feeds. They write news feeds to their employees to making that connection with the way that you eat on a daily basis is going to affect your performance. So as I said, America is really ahead of the game. Europe's a little bit behind. And we'd like to think in the UK that Artizian is leading the way here in terms of nutrition. We work with our chefs all the time. So where we have a contract that's got chefs in place, we give them nutrition education, and they work alongside myself in developing meals. Everything is seasonal as much as possible, organic in some cases. And we use fresh ingredients all of the time. But for me, and fundamentally, the key thing, and the reason why Google's program works so well, is that the key stakeholders are really involved with this, okay? And they're able to manage that food program from the top. And I think this is a key message for you. So I'm going to spend the next bit of this presentation talking to you about the sorts of things that you could adopt and take on board that to help you actually empower your employees. So the first thing as I've said, is that you actually need to embrace the fact that it is about education, that it is about information, informing people, and importantly, it's about invoking that emotional response to inspire someone to do something different. And so this is how I want to present to you about the sorts of things that we have done to help some of our existing clients. Just a few examples. They can form part of a full nutrition and wellbeing package, or they can just be taken as standalone units and on their own. So the first one is Nutrition Bites. So this is a monthly topical news feed, and it's designed specifically at its basic level to educate and inform people. We distribute it to our clients, and they distribute it to all of their employees. I write it, and you can see on the right-hand side there, we've created a Nutrition Bites board. This would sit in any public area of your offices, and that changes on a monthly basis. It can be put onto your intranets. It can be put into gyms, and I have even seen it behind toilet doors. It actually has a huge following. Our customers engage with it a lot and ask lots of questions as well. And in January 2017, we are launching a new product, which is a subscription blog, where you'd be able to download this information as well. So it would actually help build the beginnings of a nutritional program for you. The next one is a wellbeing challenge, and this one is an example of what we're running this year. November is Drink Sensibly, but essentially it's a step-by-step, bite-size, really bite-size, that's important. You eat an elephant one mouthful at a time, little things, to improve your health. Now, some of our team players, our own employees, have been doing this, and one girl has lost 3.5 stone this year. She started in January. She's been slowly following this, little by little by little by little by little. Each month is accompanied by, colourful posters and graphics, and also, additionally, we have taste inspirations you see on the right. So that would support giving an employee little simple tips about ways in which they can, in this instance, reduce salt in their diet. And where possible, you can create some visuals as well. From January 2017, this one is going to be downloadable for free from our website because we're evolving the product. So you'll be able to get that for free. Okay, so the next one I talked about actually involving people is Discovery Days. We've been running these for over 10 years now, and here you can see some of the collateral that we create. It's very colourful, it's very accessible, it's accompanied by information that's practical. This one is simple swaps, you can see, just dietary swaps on the left-hand side. Dirty Dozen was about the chemicals in food. So Discovery Days, there are 12 topics, and we introduce a new one every quarter. And they can be taken place anywhere. It doesn't have to take place in a big place, small place, however you want to do it. So those are Discovery Days. There's some more. We did clean eating, superfoods, mind health. And we've also developed something called Healthy Initiative Week, and it's started 2 years ago now. This is an example from this year. Simple ways, portion. It's a good place to start. Recognise how big a portion is, what it should do. Just very colourful, something that could be easily replicated. We also run lunch and learn seminars, and we work alongside occupational health facilities. We've covered different topics, but all relating to employee resilience. So things like intelligent eating, eating to beat stress, and we've got lots of examples outside of the collateral that we'll hand out there. They usually last about an hour, and there's a 30-minute nutrition information piece about that. Often we're asked by clients to do something specific, and that would be, in this instance, a client, occupational health through their GP, the company GP. People visited and found out they had high blood pressure, which was a surprise to them because that wasn't the reason why they went to the GP in the first place. And so we were asked to create a learning lunch around this. How do you manage high blood pressure with diets? And we presented the only evidence-based research that's there, which is called the DASH diet. And the DASH diet stands for Dietary Approaches to Support Hypertension. Very easy to follow steps. New for 2017, and we believe this is unique within the area of wellbeing, is that we want to introduce a wellbeing challenge that focuses on supporting employees to eat well whilst at work. Okay, we recognise they're going to eat outside a lot of the time, but whilst at work. And we're going to address head-on the issues of employee resilience. So those are the topics around the 12 months, and they will be supported with information and posters and graphics. So that's something that's an off-the-shelf piece that you could easily run within your organisation. Where possible, it'd be great to actually meet with a nutritionist as well, but that can be add-ons. And finally, over the last 4 years, I've developed working relationships with corporates to run corporate wellbeing weeks, and already a few of you have come up and sort of mentioned this. That could be just be one slot within a week, or it could help you actually form a whole theme around your wellbeing weeks. Because actually we want to be more wellbeing than just 1 week. And some of you may be well ahead of the game, some of you may just be starting in devising a wellbeing week. We have experience in doing that. Okay. There's a quote there from the client. We play an integral part in their thinking behind it. So finally, and just wrapping up, I wanted to introduce to you something we're Alice and I, very, very proud of. The background to all of this is started a number of years ago now, and it's all coming together. Google Trends, Best Foods for, showed that there's been a 10-fold increase in the search for best foods for energy. You can see that figure below. Okay? We know that there's a real lack of energy around us, and people are really concerned in this wide and tired world. Many of us lack energy, and therefore our productivity is lacking. We have low mood, lack of sleep, productivity. And you know that link between mood and food. It's very connected. We have developed a brand called Mood Food with real understanding of the science behind it, neurotransmitter hormones, how it all works, the nutrients that you need. And Mood Food was created back in 2012. It comprises of 2 parts, Mood Food Energy and Mood Food Chill. If you're feeling tired and de-energized, you eat the energy bit of the brand, and if you're feeling anxious and stressed, you eat the chill bit of the brand. Okay? It's in grab and go. We've won awards for it. This is just an example of the sort of product on shelf. We've got some product for you to try as well. Every single ingredient that we use in that product delivers nutrients to support energy and to support stress and how that drains down your body battery. We have 80 products in the range. There's also hot offers of soups, of lunches, and more recently, breakfasts, 7,000 poached eggs and the like. And it's an intelligent eating brand. It's an intelligent food brand. Because if you eat round it regularly, you'll also burn fat, lose weight, and build muscle. It's effective. So I'd just like to finish, really. Just some more examples. You can try them there. Well, to conclude, and I'm very aware that I've got 1 minute to finish off, I hope I've inspired you to consider that nutrition is part of your wellbeing programme. It's very achievable. The collateral is available for you to use. Some of it is free. Most of it is bespoke. You can bespoke it yourselves. We can help you to do that. But I think if you ignore the value of nutrition to your workforce, you're almost in peril. You know, you do that probably at your disadvantage. The younger generation know there's something that's making it work better for them, and we encourage you to build that into your wellbeing strategy.